Hello and welcome to another YouTube slash podcast with Heather and I doing. Now we're going to do the big three in astrology. So last time we came to you with the big three in human design and talked about that. And now we thought it would be fun to talk about the big three in astrology. And Heather's learning the language of astrology. And I love it so much. She's always asking me questions, and it makes me so excited to have somebody to share. So I'm so happy to have Heather with us today.
I am so glad I could bring the beginner's mindset to these videos because that's exactly where I am. And you said I'm learning like baby steps. I have a book that I've been going through, and it's a very beginner's guide to astrology. And it's just enough to keep me coming back for more and reeling me in. But I'm definitely every page I'm like, Angela, what does this mean? Angela, what does this mean? Angela, what does this mean? Tell me all the things.
I have her chart up at all times. Almost memorized now.
But the other day when you were like, okay, I know what the answer is, but I'm going to have you look at it and you tell me what you think, and we'll see if you're growing. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing there.
I know. Well, it's so funny because we've talked about it all, right? But it was in this great scope of your entire chart. And so now you're like, oh, my North Node. And I'm like, we talked about this, but tell me so that you remember it.
Right. And that is such a good way to learn this stuff. Is it's great to have the readings done and whatnot. But I think the readings almost help in smaller glimpses of things.
Yeah.
What exact, maybe just a whole reading on where your Chiron is, like we were just talking about, or your big three or something like that, versus the whole thing, because it just becomes so much information that I don't know, it's too much bouncing around. So yeah, just breaking it up into smaller pieces is definitely, and having to figure it out on my own at times definitely is making me learn things better.
Yeah. I always think of when I'm doing a reading, it's what is the intention? Let me bring a really strong intention, and we'll use this knowledge to kind of guidepost that. What is it? Career oriented? Let's get really specific. Otherwise, it is just I am just giving you tons of information and you're never going to remember it. And how are we going to put it into play? But yeah, once you get really interested in astrology, learning it on your own chart first is step one, right?
Yeah. And I was just telling Angela the other day, the book that I have, it's really interesting because on the back cover, it gives you a whole chart that you can fill in and put all your stuff in there, which I've yet to do that because I've had I haven't had any time, is my point, to fill it out. But I know that once I do, it's going to lock it in another step, Yeah. So first it was Angela telling me all the things, and it was me trying to tell Angela the things that I'm learning and then writing it all out. I think after that, I might be sitting pretty. We'll see.
Yeah. Then you'll have that deep understanding of yourself, and then you can start applying it to others, which I love to do too, right? Then you can start looking at all the other people in your life and understanding their mission and their gifts and all of the things. Okay, let's jump in. We're going to start really, really granular here. We're going to start with how to pull your chart, right? So one of my favorite first starts is astro.com. I also really like AstroSeek, but I'm just going to pull it on astro.com. So it's literally just saying astro.com in the Google chat. It's going to pull you up with a site called Astro Dentist. Lots of advertising on here because it is free. And then from there, we're just going to go to...
Did you listen to that one podcast with Sahara Rose when she had an astrologer on recently? I think I sent it to you. And this woman does readings on where to live.
Oh yeah, astrocartography.
Yeah, did you watch that one?
Yes.
Because I think this is the website that she recommended as well.
Yes. That's where I started.
Yeah, and I went to this website, but I couldn't figure out where you go to figure out that aspect of like where you should live.
It's not the most user-friendly website. It's really not.
Yeah.
Once you can create an account, and then it'll store all of your charts. So let's say you wanted to put your husband's chart in there, your children's charts in there, your mom's chart, like you could start storing. I signed out of my account so that I could do it this way. But you can start by making like a new chart, or this one's Astro Click for Astro travel.
Wait, so where did you just go for that?
Just to the
okay, at the menu.
Yeah. So these are horoscopes. So that's where you're going to find like the astrocartography. But yeah, so you just want, I guess, a new chart, which.
And if they're storing all your information, is it still free?
Yeah, it actually is, but it's not the most user friendly. Actually, I'm going to go to Astro Seek because I think that's even easier. And so that's just astroseek.com. We'll pull that up. This one doesn't store. That's what I liked about astro.com is it stored. So like in the astro.com, like I told you, we went to free chart. It should get you to so there, if you go to free chart and then you can do the chart, and I think you have to add. Yeah. So you'd add and then you do your new chart here. So we'll just do one on both. I'm just going to do what's easy, January of 1988. I don't know. I'm just making something up because but you really want your time to be correct. You want your location that you were born to be correct. So these things just are important. So we're just going to put in that information. And now it's pulled this chart. If I go over here, I can add the transits. And so the transits are just on the outside.
In my handy book that you want to get the time as close as possible because it's a snapshot of the sky the minute you were born, and things can change within an hour or two, right?
Oh, things can change within a minute. Every hour the ascendant changes. So we're going to talk about the big three and the ascendants one. So this says that because this chart was at 9 a.m., it's 0:52 here. So in however many minutes, if you were born a few minutes earlier, you would have a different ascendant, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's not always going to be a minute here or there, make or break you, but there are those moments that it does. If somebody gives me a time and it's like 1 minute later, they're a different ascendant. The ascendant rules the chart, the ascendant ruler. And so I am very careful with that. And I might ask them some questions to see if the nurse was not paying attention and wrote it down 5 minutes later, right? Like,
right.
If it's a big deal like that, most of the time it's not going to come down to those couple of minutes. If you're around, mine is 9 o'clock. I've checked it both ways to make sure, like, what if the nurse wasn't paying attention? It's really 8:55. What if, it was 9:05 and she rounded down, right? So I have checked it both ways. Nothing changes too dramatically for me, but I have done readings for people that do have a pretty dramatic shift. And so I'll talk through some things to make sure we're looking at the right chart, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But yes, the birth time is very important. If you don't have your birth time, what do we always know? We know where the sun is, right? So we have your sun birthday, which is usually what we think of as your zodiac. So AstroSeek, I like this one. It doesn't store. So I like astro.com. I have different software now, but when I was starting out, I started out on astro.com because I liked it stored there. Then I found AstroSeek, and I really love, I love the way that we can see, it gives you like a lot of information for a newbie, right? So if you're new, if you pull astro.com, it was very easy for me to find on the site. It's a lot easier than astro.com, the AstroSeek is. And the chart, I mean, they both look a little different, but they're still the same 12 signs, or 12 houses and all the signs. The thing I like about this is if you scroll down, it's going to tell you all about what is the first house, your ascendant. It's going to tell you what the ascendant in Pisces is. It's going to tell you the ruler of the ascendant. It tells you what planets are in the first house, and you can learn more. It tells you about your midheaven, which you were learning about, right? The MC. It tells you what the ruler of your midheaven is, what planets are in there. And then it tells you, it goes through sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, like it, and it tells you like, what is a Venus in Sagittarius? And now, while this does not, it doesn't give you the same amount of information as having an astrology reading by an astrologer that knows how these things interact and can see what the big picture is for you. It's really a cool way to start learning more, though, right? Yeah. Like, what is Venus in Sagittarius? What is my Mars? And, so you got all of this information, and this person has a lot of Sagittarius energy. Look at that.
Holy cow.
So yeah, it's really interesting. So we'll just kind of go back and forth. So what we're teaching today is the big three, right? So what are the big three? It's what is your sun sign, what is your moon sign, and what is your ascendant. And so a lot of people, I didn't get into astrology until I really started learning about these big three and the house system, because just knowing that I'm a Gemini is not that like interesting, or it didn't really set that, like it wasn't the most, whoa, I'm a Gemini. It wasn't like, this tells me so much about myself. It was like, yeah, I'm endlessly curious, and I like to read lots of things, and I like to, conversate. Yeah, sure. But it didn't like give me any depth. And same with you being a Virgo. I don't think that that's like, whoa, this is who I am in every sense. Right.
Right.
But so, yeah, so your sun sign the sun really is kind of the lens, the flashlight that we're shining the light through, right? So the tone of the light that goes through your chart can be part of the sun sign. The sun is really kind of pushing us to experience life through a certain lens. So we've always got that sun for that. But a lot of people, they might even fall more into the category of their moon, right? They might connect with their moon a little bit more. And then some people might even connect with their ascendant a lot, or like I like to look at it as kind of the journey, right? So your moon is kind of lineage. So moon is, sun is connected to father. Sometimes it's connected to more of a masculine side of you. Moon is the lineage of your mother and the feminine aspect of you. But really the moon is kind of like what makes us feel safe, right? Like what do we have that makes us feel safe? And so knowing what your moon is, like this person here has a Capricorn moon. So this chart, we're looking for that moon sign and what sign it's in. This person has a Gemini moon. So we're pulling the birth chart. We're seeing, you can look at it several different ways. It's going to be listed, right? Sun, moon, and then the ascendant, they always put way down in different places. So, or you can just see that the ascendant's always on the chart, this thick line here, whatever sign that is. So this person's got a Pisces ascendant. This person's ascendant is at 0 degrees, and we're calling that Aquarius. So yeah, 0 degrees Aquarius right here. So we're always finding what's our sun, our moon, and our ascendant. And then I'll go through all of them so that we can, anybody listening, like pull your chart, write down What is my sun? What is my moon? And what is my ascendant? And then write down, I'm looking at the sun to see kind of like, what am I reaching for? What did I come here to learn through this lens, right? The ascendant, we're always here to, like, this is the school that I came here to show up in, right? I'm learning more about being in my being. The first house is always about kind of self, right? Some astrologers call it a mask. The ascendant is a mask, so other people see it in us. You're a Cancer rising, so I definitely, you're very like warm and like caring. You come across very caring. So a Cancer, usually their ascendant is going to be kind of a caring person. And we'll talk about maybe in the mystery school, which is what Daniel Giamario, he always uses it in the shamanic mystery school, like what I came to learn from this lens. You got the sun shining and forcing through. This one's a Capricorn. I think both of them are Capricorns, right? Or does this one? Nope, this one I put later on. So this one's a Aquarius sun. So sun in Aquarius, sun in Capricorn, and then your ascendant is like, it's always kind of guiding you, right? And we'll talk about it through that lens. And then the moon is like what keeps me safe. One of the best things I ever learned about the moon, though, because I'm a Libra moon and I'm always trying to harmonize and make everybody get along and everything's okay, right? One thing I didn't realize until I started studying shamanic astrology was that it's like the moon does make us feel safe, but maybe we're leaning on that safety too much, right? Instead of forcing ourselves to learn through the ascendant a little bit more and the sun a little bit more and maybe our north node a little bit more. These are things that are sometimes uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
The moon is like easier, right? Your Taurus moon, I think you have a Taurus moon, right?
Yep.
Knowing what's comfortable, staying in your house, making, like that stuff is more comfortable to you. And so it's forcing yourself to get outside of that sometimes is really healthy. And that's why I really love for people to learn this, right? Like, because some of these things that I have in my nodes and things like that, I wouldn't push myself if I didn't know it, right? Because it's kind of uncomfortable, just like Chiron. A lot of the things we think, oh, that's just who I am. But it's like, I came here for growth, and with the right mindset, I can like push into it more, right? I
didn't come here just to stay the same.
Yeah. And if you want to stay the same, live in your moon all day long, right? It's like, no, let's push it out, like this is a comfort, and making sure that I do have somewhere to lean back and have that comfort is good, maybe 20 or 30% of the time. But where am I pushing to get into some of these other areas? And so we'll have to do a nodal one sometime because the nodes are really important, but right now we're just doing the big three. So if everybody's like pulled their chart, they've written down their sun, their moon, and their rising. Heather, I'm just gonna go through yours real quick, and then we'll go through all of them just so somebody can see how I would do this. So it's like, okay, your sun is in Virgo. So you came here with this overwhelming, like, okay, I'm here of service, right? The Virgo's here for service. Like, I'm here for service. It's ruled by Mercury, so it's a very it thinks, a lot in the mind. Virgos are very in the mind. Health and wellness is something that a Virgo is always looking for. So we're kind of shining that light through all of these systems, right? The lineage that you came from would have been the Taurus, right? This Taurus, like, comfort and safety and love of nature, and maybe just wanting peace and quiet and calm.
Yes.
And like, oh, that feels so good. And then you come to kind of go through the mystery school of always steering yourself towards like, how can I show up in this Cancer job of really taking care of my community, my family, my people, how do I use this service oriented sun in Virgo to take care of my community and find somebody that's going to help on the other end. We always look at the 7th house for the other end, somebody that's going to help with structures and things like that, because I'm bringing together this community, and we need structure, and we need all of those things. So you're always looking for that kind of partnership there. And so we can just see where you're naturally, it's always trying to guide you there, but it's like, okay, how can I fall into this more? How can I, even if everybody wanted to create like a mission statement from this, right? Like, I really want to show up in, not get in the weeds of trying to perfect things like a Virgo wants to, but how am I of service? How am I building this community? How do I use the strength of the Taurus moon, this emotionally stable person, to build this, right? So that's what I want everybody to get out of this, is looking for their ascendant, their sun, and their moon, and then kind of building a like a mission statement for their life out of this, right?
That's cool. I like that. Like breaking it down, like what's your mission statement?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause then you have something to always lean back on, for me, I have this Gemini sun that's really about conversation. It's really about talking to others. It's not getting too stuck in like my beliefs, but seeing other people's beliefs and being able to talk about them. My moon in Libra loves to harmonize situations and it's conversational too, right? So I have all this conversation, but I came here with that mystery school, that ascendant in Leo, that really needs to put my personality, my fire, my kind of stage presence on it and share it with the world. And that's the most uncomfortable part for me, right? That doesn't come natural. But when I see it there and I can lean into that more, instead of just kind of setting back in my moon and just making everything comfortable for everybody else and just, I can just, it's like, no, you really have this mission that you have to push yourself to do, right?
So what would be your mission statement, like off the cuff?
So I would say, and I've kind of built my mission statement a little bit, even using my human design and things like that. So if I were to work with a client, I'd do it a little bit. I'd add a few things in there, but we're just going to do it here. But mine is the Leo shows up with heart, right? So it's like, I am teaching people presence, love, and how to self-love through the action of getting out and talking and sharing and opening minds and hearts through conversation. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted an example to like kind of base, like, what would I put down? Like, how long would it be? And
yeah, you just want something that you can come back to, right? That you could, so yours, I'm taking the perfection of Virgo, but I'm bringing it to service, right? So I am of service for my community, and I'm bringing this stability of Taurus moon. I'm bringing that stability to create this community, right? I'm a service oriented, stable, nature loving human being, but I have to create this community, right? So that's your push,
I like that.
right? My push is that Leo, your push is that Cancer. It's for the community, right? So I'm not going to read all of this. I made a really quick thing. If like, we're just going to kind of go over the mission. If anybody wants this, we'll talk about Heather's newsletter. You can go to her website. Heather, what's your website?
It is wellnessmatterstribe.com.
So if you just go to Heather's website, she's going to put this in her newsletter. I haven't set up a newsletter yet, and Heather's so kind to be my co-host. So I said, let's put it in your newsletter. And then, so if you want this guide, go there. There's a nice little like blurb. This is pretty like generic, but I went ahead and put my own spin on the mission, right? Or like, what are you trying to learn? So if you have an Aries rising, this is you're being pushed to learn courage, right? So we think of Aries, it's a fire sign, it's here to like go out and take risks. Aries aren't always naturally risk takers. It's kind of uncomfortable for them. But when you sign up with an Aries mission, whether it's Aries sun or Aries moon or Aries rising, you are signing up to have events happen that cause you to have to learn courage, right? You've signed up for this life that's going to force some courage in there. And so so instead of seeing as like, I'm always in stress, or it's like, ooh, these things are happening for me, so I can learn courage, so I can learn to jump in and show how courageous I can be, and I can take risks. So that's for, if you have a moon in Aries, you might be more comfortable with it, right? Because the moon is something, it's the lineage that we come from. So an Aries moon might feel more comfortable with taking risks. But a rising usually isn't
like
that comfortable.
So this definition of Aries might look different if it's your sun sign, moon sign, or rising sign?
Yes. So if it's your rising sign or your sun sign,
Okay.
I'm going to say that it's more of you're learning it.
Okay.
And if it's your moon, it's more of maybe that's something you lean on. You're very good at like jumping in and taking control, but what's your sun and rising, right? Maybe you need to lean on learning these things more.
Can we put that in there somewhere? Like,
yeah. I'll update this a little bit to now that I've seen how it reads, right?
Right, because I know that's the first thing I'd be like, wait a second. So if I'm this though, okay.
Yes. This is why I have Heather, because she pushes me to make sure that it's very understandable.
Right.
So then we have the Taurus. So if you have a Taurus rising or a Taurus sun, your mission is, and I'll change this for everybody, but the Taurus is mission to learn like peace and inner security. Because the Taurus is really, it's kind of naturally calm. It naturally loves nature. It naturally loves these things. So if that's your moon, you're naturally you always have that to fall back on. When you're alone in nature, you're pretty good, right? That's your moon, right? But if you're a Taurus sun or a Taurus rising, it's like you're learning this all the time. You're always kind of put in situations. You have this energy within you, right? You're born to live this energy, but it's not always comfortable. It's kind of new, right? So we're learning situations so that we can really learn to live in peace no matter what's going on, and have this sense of inner security. And so for a Taurus, really loving nature and kind of letting go of having to push so hard, right? Because a Taurus is an earth sign and they love to make things happen too, but it's like loving that.
So you would say like earth signs are people or signs that like to push?
Earth signs are always, they're really good in nature. They're really good when they can unwind a little bit, but they always have this need to make sure that we have security, right? Do we have food? Are the bills paid? Do we have, like, is there money in the bank? Is the house okay? Like, they show up in the material world and are forming these things, right? I don't have any of these in there. So thankfully my husband has earth, because I'm like, do I have to think about this?
2/3 of me is all earth.
But yeah, so when you have a lot of earth, you're naturally like trying to figure it out on an earth plane. Like, do we have the security? Right.
Right.
And I guess I'll add earth. I'll add the elements to this guide too before I give it to Heather. Gemini is an air sign, so we're talking more really good at communication, right? We're communicating, we've got ideas, we've got thoughts, we've got all of the things that air are. The Gemini is learning to let the universe not make sense. And that's a really hard one for me because as a Gemini sun, I also have my Mercury and other things in Gemini. Um, the Gemini mind is always trying to learn everything, right? It's super curious. It's always trying to learn. I have found myself more than one time listening to a podcast, reading a book, and because I'm trying to
Yeah.
multitask, because I want to learn everything,
So
right?
I'm the same way, which is weird because I don't have that Gemini, but that's exactly how I am.
Well, you have Virgo, which we'll talk about is the Earth Mercury, so it's still led by mind and thoughts and things like that.
Okay. Okay.
So Gemini is led by Mercury. Mercury is
Okay.
the thought, thinking and communicating, right?
Got it.
But yeah, so Geminis are really, they're very curious and almost overly curious, always trying to figure everything out. And so the lesson in Gemini is to learning to let the universe not make sense, not having everything have to make sense, right? And so we're
hard.
learning to lean more into just having a conversation and not having to figure it all out, right? Just enjoying the playfulness of learning. So yeah, so a Gemini, if this was in the moon, you might just get so into like reading books and learning, taking another class is my jam. And it's like, yes, but are you doing your rising? Are you doing your sun also? We can get caught up in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cancer, learning how to feel. Cancer is a water sign. Water is always kind of emotional. So you having that as your rising, it's like you're always going to be put in situations and things that you have to learn really how to feel those deep feelings, right? That's not something that always comes naturally to somebody that's a Cancer rising or even a Cancer sun. A Cancer moon, they know how to feel their feelings. They've done it. If we're looking at evolutionary astrology, they've probably done it a few times, right? But it's new. That's why they're trying it on as their rising. That's why they're trying it on as their sun. And so we're learning more about that. And so, yeah, just remembering that you're learning, you're learning to create this community. You're learning to be that it's okay to be emotional. And
I think a big lesson that I've just learned even recently at age 43, like hearing it this way for whatever reason stuck with me, but just the fact that we are humans and we are meant to feel and then release things. But for so long, I was somebody who would feel and suppress, right?
yeah,
I'm like, I'm not going to cry in front of these people, or I'm not going to be feeling this way.
yeah,
And so that's how I built up so much, trapped energy and trauma and all these. I mean, not a lot, but I mean, over the years, that's definitely one of my ways of coping.
yeah,
Until I realized that we are meant to experience feelings and then release them. So now I'm trying to teach that to my kids all the time. Like, I want you to experience life every single day, like get the most out of it, but also learn to process and release it. Don't just shove it down and hide it somewhere, because
yeah,
that's not healthy. But at this age, though, it took me forever to figure that out. And just like you said, so Cancer is my rising sign. I didn't just learn that. I mean, I didn't just know that. I had to learn that.
yeah, yeah,
And it took me a while to learn
yeah.
that.
And naturally, even if you didn't know this, the world is bringing things to you. So you have to learn this, right? Like
Right.
it is happening for you no matter what. But the thing I love about learning this is like when you can get the mindset of like, ooh, that is kind of tough for me, but it's for me. This is something I'm going to lean into more, right?
Yes.
Maybe I'm going
Yes.
to lean into feeling my emotions and letting them
Mm-hmm.
pass. Maybe I'm going to lean
Mm-hmm.
into being maybe emotional for people, right? So they feel
Right.
okay to have their
Right.
emotions, right?
Well, my 15-year-old, he just recently, he and his girlfriend, called it quits, whatever that is at 15. And they were really good friends. And so when they ended it, I could tell he was definitely grieving the loss of a friend, like somebody he was talking with and could share things with. And he sat down next to me and I could see he was tearing up, but he did not want to cry in front of me. I go, buddy, I don't care if you've got to even go into your bedroom. Please let those tears be released. Like, do not stifle them. You are clearly upset. I hope that you're going to express them, you know what I mean? And just let them flow. And so he did. He went into his room. Not sure, if he cried into his pillow or he just kind of, I don't know, drowned. I don't know what he did, but if he didn't feel comfortable with releasing them in front of me, I just was like, maybe even go into the other room, but please release them. Like, I do not want you to feel like, especially how a lot of men get taught, like, shut it off, And so again, learning that's definitely something that I have figured out over time. It wasn't just, oh, hey, yes, I'm going to express my feelings, whatever. It took me a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So lean into it. Yes. No, I love that. Then people can kind of understand, because that's the thing that learning my chart, I understood more and more that the things I'm here for are really uncomfortable. Right?
Yes. We didn't come here to have it be easy, did you?
Okay. So Leo, we're learning to be in the now and spontaneous. The Leo, sometimes they talk about it being like this, want to be on stage and things like that, but it's really this open-heartedness. It's being spontaneous. It's being in the now moment. So really Leos are learning to do that. My mom has a Leo moon and she's very good at kind of sharing and being center of attention and telling a story with such joy. I have a Leo rising and a Leo Venus, and it's not always easy for me. It's not always easy for me to open up and show, unless I'm in the right place, my heart. And that's what I really came here to do, is be in this now moment, hold people in this now moment. So Leos are always kind of learning that. So if you have a Leo rising like I do, it's really a path about you. And even I thought it was really interesting. Daniel Giamario talked about the Leo rising and maybe even the Leo sun, like they can't get too many compliments, right? It doesn't cause a complex in Leo. It causes them to have the confidence they need. And that's a really interesting thing, because I always tease my husband, he doesn't give compliments very easily, but that is something that I actually need, right? Like I need to be told, like, you're doing the right thing, you're great, like all of that, because that really does instill that confidence. It does not go to like a Leo rising's head, right? It's just like, it's necessary. So if you have that, that's something to kind of remember, because Leos are said to be very confident, but it doesn't come natural, right? It's something you're always being put in situations. The Leo attracts this, people want to put you in charge, right? People have always wanted to put me in charge, and it's uncomfortable, but it's there for me, right? To help me gain the confidence to be out in front.
You literally just described my son, who is a Leo sun. And I do know that he does need to hear some praise to know that he's doing a good job. But it's funny, every single grade that he's been in school, he was always like dubbed the leader, but at times I think it is uncomfortable for him.
Yeah. Because it is such a heartship. It's a heart-centered leadership, and whenever we lead with our heart, that's when you can get it's more uncomfortable, right? Virgo. So Virgo is always learning to express through service. So Virgo is naturally, yes, extremely, they can be overthinkers, worriers, that can lead to anxiety. There's a lot of thinking involved, always striving for perfection. And it's ruled by Mercury as well. But really what the Virgo is here for is to be of service, right? A Virgo is really learning to be of service in all that they do. And so there's no room for perfection in that. It's just, you show up with your open heart, and that's what. So yeah, so if you have a Virgo rising or a Virgo sun, you're really learning this. And then if you have a Virgo moon, it's not always is the Virgo moon innately, and same with all of these. Everything has a shadow expression and a like a higher gift expression. A lot of people I've read for, and I know in real life with the Virgo moon, the perfectionist is really what leads, and it's constant, right? Like I'm constantly trying to perfect myself, and so you can get into that a lot with the Virgo moon. But if you have that Virgo moon, lean into that service orientation as well. Libra. So Virgo was the earth. It's Mercury, but it's the earth side, earth versus air. So it's an earth sign. Libra is a earth or an air sign, and so it's communication. It's the sign of the scales. So Libra they can naturally be harmonizing. Like I'm a Libra moon, so naturally harmony comes very easily for me. But if you're a Libra rising or a Libra sun, that's not always the easiest thing, right? You can very much see very clearly when things are out of balance, and when sometimes, like I have people in my life that are Libras that walk into a room, and if the energy is too calm, they're going to stir shit up, right? And if the energy is too crazy, maybe they'll bring their calming presence, right? But they can be it's more of learning of these extremes sometimes. But really the heart of the sign is learning about justice and fairness, and learning how to harmonize without compromising the self.
I got a funny story / question. So my mom is a Libra sun, and she is always about the scales, right? And everyone gets to have 3 pieces of licorice, and no one gets 4, and da da da. She's always the one that's balancing all that out. And like, this is just hitting me now. So she was at a party. Like it was like a picnic, and someone else's kid was eating all of the chocolate dipped pretzels, and all the other kids were in the pool swimming. And I don't know if this is her Libra sign or what it is, but she literally told this child, you can't eat all of those, even though it's not her party, it's not her kid, it's not, she's a grandma now, like none of these kids are hers. And she could not handle that this boy was eating all the fun treats while all the other kids were in the pool. And so she had to say something to him like, yo, stop eating all the chocolate covered pretzels, because I know these other kids are going to want some.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the Libra in her that was like, nope, I am balancing the I need to know that everyone's going to have these, get a chance to have these pretzels, not just this one kid.
Yeah. For me, my moon is like harmony over everything, right? But when I see it in the sun and the rising for people, it's more like, is this fair? Is this justice? Is this, I don't mind coming at you to let you know, right? Like I've seen that a lot, and it's very interesting. But yeah, it is. And sometimes the Libra can be like, they can compromise themselves over creating harmony, right? They can compromise themselves over fairness and justice. And it's like figuring out what really matters to you and bringing that forth. But yeah, it's very interesting when you see that side of a Libra, because most of the time they're very harmonizing. They maybe make a great host, like they're good communicators. But then, when that fairness comes out, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. My brother was like, why did she even say anything? Like, why does she have to say anything? Like, it's got to be the Libra. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
has to make sure that each kid gets one.
Yep. Yep. No, my mom has the North Node and South Node are both in like that sign. She's very fair. But yeah, we would literally, she would order a pizza, count how many people, and cut, like, you got each get 2.5 slices, you know. And
Yeah.
that was not, and my cousins would just laugh because at their house it was like free for all. Whoever's hungry gets more,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
whoever's not, you know. But her, it was like, nope.
Oh, that drives my mother nuts too. Like, if we have any kind of gathering of any kind, I love the grays, and so I'll just like go at the appetizers, whatever. This is where we would clash, even with me growing up. She'd be like, "You're gonna eat all the appetizers, and no one's gonna be able to get them, whatever." I'm like, if they wanted them, they would come and eat them, and
Yep.
it's not my problem that they didn't get up and get some at a sooner. So where I
Yes.
could give a crap,
Yes.
she's all like, no, you've already had 5 carrot sticks and 3 cookies. And, she's like, knows all the things. I'm like, why does that even bother you? But it's
Yes.
gotta be the balancing of the scales.
Yes. Yes. It is definitely there. And so it's just about like looking at how does this equate in your mission statement? How do you want to sort this? And that awareness and intention, right? So Scorpio's a water sign. So of course, anything with water is going to be feeling. Scorpio is like deep feeling. It's like, let's take this really deep. And they really are good at taking action. Like they can be very decisive and very like, this is not correct. I'm going to correct this. Right. And it's interesting, especially if you have like a Scorpio moon, because then it's going to show up very intensely in all of those ways. But it's like the Scorpio, while the Taurus might say, "Oh, that glass of wine was great. I can have 2 glasses of wine and feel good," right? The Scorpio might be like, "What about 3? Well, how does it feel with 4? How does it feel with 5?" Like it likes to go over the line and see how deep it can go past the line, right? So the Scorpio is really learning like this depth. And I mean, they're very good with like solving mysteries and things like that. Like the Scorpio is very, very interesting in all that, but you're really learning this harmony between like the deep feeling and taking action. And it'll be interesting because you can be so deeply wounded by things that you think about that action too much, or it's like, where's the harmony, right? So that's kind of Scorpio. So if you have it in your rising, maybe this energy is not as comfortable. Feeling so deeply is not as comfortable. Being able to feel deeply and then move forward is maybe hard for you. So seeing how you can incorporate this. Sagittarius is a fire sign. And they're really like, anybody that has a lot of Sagittarius energy, it's like, I want to see how high I can go. I want to see how far reaching I can go in a direction, right? But the Sagittarius is learning to grasp the wholeness through experience. So they're usually very they crave experience. It's also beliefs and values and things like that we're learning through Sagittarius. So if you have like a Sagittarius rising, usually learning through travel and meeting different people and experiences are really going to help guide you in this. If you have a Sagittarius moon, sometimes it's very hard for you to settle down in life. So let's pair a Sagittarius moon with like maybe a Capricorn that needs structure, like a Capricorn rising or sun. That moon is just going to want to keep moving, right? And so it's like, how can I balance this? And so when we're creating this mission statement, and if you have the Sagittarius moon, it's like, how can I balance this? Yes, it's great for me to take vacations and to meet new people and to have new ideas, but how can I find some balance with the other signs, the other big 3, right? Capricorn is another earth sign. The Capricorn is very much rooted in, I always think of the goat that climbing the mountain, right? They're just always climbing a mountain. My son, both my parents were Capricorns, very much rooted in, do we have enough? Is there enough security? My son is very much in getting out there and showing. It rules the 10th house, which is that career house. It's like, what can I do to create results, right?
Is it kind of like a Taurus then?
Yeah, so Taurus is learning more about receiving. So it still wants that comfort and things, but it's learning to receive more. And the Capricorn is the forward motion, right?
Okay.
They both like some of the same things, but the Capricorn just has to work its butt off to get it. Sometimes too much. They always say Capricorns are born old and they reverse age, right? They Benjamin Button and become young as they're older because they learn that they don't have to climb so hard.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's like learning, like what is your true nature, and who do you really want to be, and then who's this public identity that you have, because it's very much it's always struggling with like, what do people think, right? Like, even my mom trying to retire, I'm like, just retire already and go be your crazy artistic self. She's got all the Sagittarius and Leo and creativity, but she's got this Capricorn sun that's always like, but I gotta have a real stable job.
I need that paycheck every week.
Yeah. Otherwise people might think I'm lazy or this, like, no, that's that's just, and so that's some part of what a Capricorn's learning, right? To kind of balance that. The Aquarius. Oh, and I will mention, just because I know Capricorn moon so well, my sister has a Capricorn moon, and it's like, it really loves to be that stand-up citizen, right? That like, oh, I took care of you, and I took care of you, and I took care of you. It can get into martyrdom.
Like kind of like virtue signaling type.
So like, she's always helping everybody, right? Always trying to do. And so for a Capricorn, it feels really safe to have people say, thank you, you helped me, right? That feels really good. And it's like, but you're a Gemini sun and a Gemini Venus, like, you should be really playing with like the fun and curiosity, not taking care of everybody because of your Capricorn moon, right? So that's like another example of where you can lean on the moon too much and you're missing out on really exploring the sun and all of that, which she has a Cancer rising too, which, Cancer rising, you kind of are like, well, it's my family though, and I've got this Capricorn moon so I can take care of them.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Aquarius. So really, Aquarius is like truth, right? It's very interesting when you see, like, even I have these twins that I love, that one's an Aquarius rising and one's a Pisces rising. And Pisces is kind of dreamlike. And the Aquarius is like truth at all, and it's very interesting, like how they show up even in their lives. Like the one is kind of showing behind the scenes, because they both create content. They're content creators. One shows like behind the scenes how the movie or how the video was made, and the other one's just like the beauty of it, right? The illusion of the dreaminess that she's creating, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's very interesting. But Aquarius really loves to get to the bottom of truth, and so you're always kind of finding ways to see what is truth for you. And there's lots of different sides of Aquarius too. They love like the social aspect of taking care of the whole of people. Virgo is more service oriented on a one-on-one basis, and Aquarius is more looking at the whole of society, which is fun. We're moving into Pluto in Aquarius, so we're going to see that a lot, right? We just got done with structures in Capricorn, government structures and things like that. Now it's going to move into Aquarius, which rules technology. Usually you're learning technology a lot with Aquarius. You're good at technology, especially Aquarius moon. I notice people with Aquarius moon are usually very good at technology, and they're very logical in their emotions. So it's just like, well, this just makes sense, right? Like, why are you getting emotional? It's this plus this, right? So, but yeah, kind of learning through that Aquarius sign and innovation and new things, but it really loves that truth. And then Pisces is learning to experience through like consciousness, right? The Pisces we talk about is kind of dreamy and imaginative and creative. But their lessons are learning, like, how do I experience consciousness? How do I have the experience, and what do I see out here, right? So yeah, it's really interesting. You have a Pisces, I have a Pisces kid. So, but yeah, we talk about the fish. There's one born under going this way and this way, so they can be very indecisive sometimes. And it's water, so it is learning emotional imagination. They're usually, water can be very open to other people's feelings, so they can be very sensitive to feelings and all of those things. So a Pisces moon, maybe you're good at kind of activating this. Pisces sun and rising, you're learning about it, right? Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that is the 12 signs of the zodiac, and then we've looked at the chart. How are we looking at it? And then we're going to talk about, how do I make my mission statement with this? How do I take what I'm learning? How could I, maybe even if you looked at your rising sign and your sun and asked, like, how do I experience this on the highest level? How do I push myself to experience this more? And then where am I at with my moon? Am I living with that comfort enough? Am I too much? Like, where am I at with that?
Yeah.
So yeah, did you come up with any questions about the big three, or was that?
No, that you explained it perfectly. I guess, like, once you know these three, do you suggest eventually learning the other aspects of your chart?
It depends. I think that the big three is a really, like, if you wanted to walk into any conversation and understand somebody better, knowing their sun, moon, and rising is really gives you a lot of information, right?
Right.
If anybody knows those big three, you're going to have a lot of information about somebody. Do I think you should learn more? Yes. I mean, we could talk about what I think everybody should know their north node, south node. The north node is really what we're reaching for. And the south node is kind of comfort, like the moon. It's something that we're gifted in, something that we've kind of explored. So we've got our gifts that we came here with. And now we're exploring the opposite horizon, because the north node, let's see. So here we've got north node, south node. On this one, it just shows you the north node because it knows opposite, This one shows you both. So north node's in Aquarius, so south node's in Leo, which is opposite of what you are, right? So the south node, your south node is in Aquarius, so you're very oriented towards, the good of all, being truthful, things like that. You're learning to kind of stand out and shine, to open your heart and speak from that, to really create your out of personality. And then you'd have the house system that's going to teach you more. But so the north node, south node gives us a lot. It's generational. I think it's very interesting to look at groups. Like I look at, like, my oldest son's class of kids versus my youngest son's class of kids. I think north node, south node has a lot to do with that. where they're gifted, where they're all kind of learning, because most of them will share that, depending on when it switches signs. But everybody, 1 in 12 of you, let's say everybody in the class has the South Node in Leo and the North Node in Aquarius. 1 in 12 of you will have it in like the first house or the second house or the third house, which just gives us more information. So I think that's very important to learn about. I think that knowing your Venus, if you're a female, understanding how you be feminine this lifetime, right? Like, how am I learning to really relax into my feminine? It's not easy for everybody, right? How can I be instead of do, right? Who am I attracted to in the opposite sex? Looking at, you're usually projecting that masculine. How can I do it for myself? How can I be a whole person living my masculine and feminine side through my Mars and my Venus? I think that's a very important conversation. A whole conversation could be had on that. Jupiter, where are my values? Like, what am I going to jump off a cliff for, right? Jupiter is like, where am I growing my beliefs? Mercury, how do I communicate? How could I communicate better? How could I utilize this in a better way? Saturn, I could do an entire episode on Saturn. I love seeing where Saturn is now, where it was in your birth chart, what is the lesson you're learning, and where is it in its 30-year cycle? What lesson are you learning right now?
Saturn and Pluto to me seem like, maybe I'm wrong, is it like big teaching points in your life or something?
I could literally teach a class on like the lessons of Saturn and Pluto. Like, when Pluto's been in my 6th house for a long time. 6th house is health and service, right? Oh my gosh, have I had every health crisis you can imagine. When Saturn was there, it was the worst it's ever been, right?
Wow.
And it wasn't there to be like, oh, you're going to be, like, we're doing this to you. It was doing it for me. It was helping me slow down and learn empathy, learn all of the things that I've learned so much from these health crises. It led me to this. I was totally off track. I just wanted to be like a cooking show host, right? That's what I wanted to be on Food Network, right? Like, I love to cook. Took away all my favorite foods. Now I can't cook hardly, right? Took away all of it, it just took it all away. And all I had was prayer and meditation and learning these systems to heal myself, right? Now, am I grateful now that I'm not just a Food Network star, right? Like, that didn't learn this stuff? Of course, because I love what I'm doing. It's for me, right?
Right.
So Saturn is always teaching you this. For me, Saturn's in my core. It's teaching me about having this inner stability. It's teaching me, mine and yours, I think, are the same. It's in Libra, it's in corruption, right? So we can get really overblown about the corruption in this house and in this house and in this house. But when we look back and we see our Saturn, it's like, oh no, we're learning harmony, right? We're not learning to point the finger and get so mad about the corruption of this, right? So you can see so many lessons from your Saturn. You can have so many lessons from Pluto. Pluto's in a sign for a long time. I think yours was in your 7th house as well, relationships, right?
Which one? Pluto?
Yeah, I think it's moving into the 8th house for you.
I have no idea. See, I can't remember.
So it's been here and now it's moving into Aquarius. So it's still in relationships, but it'll move to this 8th house. And then you're probably going to double down on all this crazy occult learning. And
okay, wait, explain that to me. So right now it's in, what's in the house?
So right now Pluto is it's in Capricorn. It's at the end of it. It's right about to move from Capricorn to Aquarius, but it's still in the 7th house if we use the Placidus system, right? And that's another rabbit hole we could go down, whether you use whole sign, whether you use. So then it'll shift into an 8th house lesson. It's going to shift into an Aquarius lesson, right? We're going to all learn about social injustice. We're going to learn about technology. We're going to learn truth. We're going to learn all these things as a collective because that's where Pluto's going to be. But you also get to learn that lesson in relationships. Right now, you're looking for a partnership, right? Maybe somebody that'll teach you technology or do the technology for you, right?
Yes,
Pluto's pop. It's ready for that, right? It's
when
going
is it
into that
moving?
section. By the end of the year, I believe it'll be in Aquarius. It's still going to go back and forth. It's a very slow moving planet. We can learn a lot from slow moving planets because they have time in,
right.
It's not like the moon that just flies through every sign and we learn tiny little bit every day, right?
Right.
It's there for a while. So, yeah. So end of the year, it'll pop in there. It'll pop back and forth. But by 2024, 2025, it's really going to fully be in.
And what's the main aspects of the 8th house?
The 8th house is it's kind of a catch-all. I definitely focus more on like who I'm talking to when I think about the 8th house. For me, 8th house, I have Pisces there. The 8th house can be this kind of new age learning, like it can be kind of scorpionic. Let's go deeper. Let's learn deeper into these teachings. But it's across from the 2nd house. So it always has that component. So 2nd house can be a money house because it's like, how do I derive my self-worth? This is like others. So sometimes the 8th house can represent for people like taxes and, inheritance and other people's money, right? So it can represent that, but it also can represent like the deeper psychological issues, trust and things like that. So yeah, it's a big catch-all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so we can see what house Saturn and Pluto is. There's a lot of learning. Jupiter is a 12-year, so Saturn is 30-year cycle. So we got 2.5 years. Jupiter's a year, so it's a 12-year cycle. You can always see when your Jupiter returns to the place of birth, you'll definitely have kind of a jumping off point, right? A new lesson. So we can always see patterns. That's what I love when you do a really deep dive, or if you work one-on-one with me, that's what I do. It's like, what are the patterns that we've looked at in the past and what are we coming up on? What are we focusing on right now? What lessons are we trying to learn right now?
That's when you talk about the Saturn return reading, right?
So I would do a Saturn return reading, but I really just do like coaching, deep coaching. So it's like usually people, when they want coaching, something is happening anyways. I've had a lot of clients that are having their 2nd Saturn return that have come to me for coaching. Usually something's happening. What you're focusing on, I think, is the solar return, which is the
solar
yearly
return.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So if you wanted a birthday reading, I do a solar return that gives you the focus of the year. But if you want to do coaching, we really go in depth on what is your Saturn, what is the lesson of your Saturn, what is your Pluto, where have you seen the lesson, where is it at right now, how can we really learn the lesson? Because when we learn the lesson and we have the right mindset, then it stops being so hard, right? It doesn't mean we don't still learn lessons, but we have a good focus. So, and yeah, and like you said, we could do a whole show on Chiron. Chiron is where wounding is. It's where we come to teach others the thing that we can't not be hurt by, right? It hurts no matter what, but we're going to teach others through our lessons.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got more videos to do.
We could do this forever. Yes.
Right. Oh my God. Well, that was fun.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for kind of being that one that slows me down and makes me have to see like, okay, beginner's mind. Yes. Thank you. Because
you're welcome. I can ask all the questions.
Yes. You are so good at it. So thank you so much, everybody. I will send that guide I'll update it with the kind of things that Heather brought us to needing on the guide. I will update it and then we will send that out in her newsletter. So sign up for her newsletter, and she has a beautiful podcast. I have my podcast. We've both been guests on on each other's podcast, and we both have lots of fun guests. So check all of that out.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Okay.
much for having me.
Yes, I hope you learned a little bit more about the big three.
I did.
Yes. Okay. Well, everybody go out. I mean, post in the comments if you want what your big three are, so we can all kind of share in the fun. And if you want to post your mission statement, I think that would be really fun.
That's a good homework assignment. I think I might have to do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to tell me, but I think I've already forgot, so don't worry.
I'll send you the guide, and I'll make it more into a homework assignment, and then everybody can do it. Okay?
That's a good idea.
Okay. Well, will everybody just keep evolving on purpose and have fun with this.